Am I the idiot for abandoning my daughter on vacation? My wife and I have always dreamed of celebrating our 40th anniversary with a luxurious vacation. Just the two of us, reliving the romance of our early years. We had it all planned out for years now and were excited beyond words. Enter our adult daughter Jane. Jane and her husband got wind of our plans and promptly invited themselves and their 2 children, 9 female, 5 male, along. I originally put my foot down and told them this trip was just for us, which upset her some. But my wife has a hard time saying no to Jane, as she is the youngest of our children and our only daughter, and she didn't want to hurt her feelings, so she reluctantly agreed to let them join. I wasn't thrilled about it at the time, but I wanted to make my family happy, and I knew my wife was also okay with the idea of a family trip. Even if she was heartbroken, we wouldn't get our romantic trip. We went along with it. The place we were originally going was not child-friendly, so we changed course and decided on an all-inclusive family-friendly resort. We paid for the resort and our grandchildren's plane tickets. Jane and her husband only had to pay for their own airfare. Here's where things get complicated. As the vacation got closer, I started having a change of heart. I realized that our 40th anniversary was a once-in-a-lifetime milestone, and I wanted to honor it in a way that was true to our original plans. My wife and I might not be able to afford a trip like this again for quite some time, and it's something we always wanted to do. So, without consulting anyone, I switched our tickets last minute to go to the romantic destination that my wife and I had originally planned for. I did not tell Jane or her husband. I didn't even tell my wife until the day before our flight left, which was a day before Jane's flight left for their vacation. It wasn't an easy decision and I feel guilty about it. But I wanted our 40th anniversary to be the special, intimate celebration we had always hoped for. We called Jane after we landed to tell her, and she was extremely upset to say the least. She seemed of the idea that we were going to look after our grandkids, so she and her husband could have alone time, and now that I abandoned her, they would have to do it all themselves. I hung up on them when my son-in-law started shouting, and my wife and I enjoyed the rest of our trip. They came back the same day we did, but have not answered any of our texts, and Jane seems to be ignoring me. My wife told me she vastly preferred our trip to the family trip we would have taken, but she still doesn't like how Jane is mad at us and wants me to apologize. I'm not sure I want to after learning Jane and her husband were using us for free babysitting and a free trip, but I feel like I should just to keep the peace. Am I the a-hole for changing our trip destination last minute and leaving Jane and her family to fend for themselves? I was torn, actually considering you the idiot Opie, or maybe was the case of everyone sucks here. That is until the moment you told us your daughter's plans for you and your wife. What do you mean, she wanted you and your wife to become babysitters on your 40th wedding anniversary trip? So not only they crashed your trip and made you change your plans, they still wanted this from you? She really believes she and her husband deserve alone time on your romantic getaway? What the hell? The entitlement of these people is too much. Yes, I do think you're a bit of an idiot for not informing them of the change of plans beforehand, and only telling at the last minute, even to your wife. But maybe it was your sixth sense warning you that this was the only way things would work out. Or maybe you already know your daughter, and you knew that if you told her beforehand, she would find, again, a way to crash into our new plans. And you and your wife would never have the trip you wanted so much. Oh, and not only did you allow them to go on your trip, you also paid for most of their and the children's travel expenses. and they still wanted to take more advantage of you. I'm astonished. Also, when you changed your plans, you didn't cancel their hotel, tickets, and whatever else you had paid for, which you had every right to do. But you still left them the possibility of having their vacation, just without you two, and they still complain? Not because they can't celebrate this important moment with you, but because they're gonna lose the free babysitters on a trip they weren't even supposed to go on in the first place. Once again, what the hell? Jesus Christ, your daughter and son-in-law are not only very entitled, but also very ungrateful. Set limits with them, OP, now you and wife need it. Oh, as for apologizing to your daughter, tell your wife you'll do it as soon as she apologizes for wanting to ruin your trip. That's simple. And the issue of them not talking to you now. Wait, this will pass. As soon as they need something from you, they will come back, running. Not the idiot, OP. Not the idiot. What part of the 40th anniversary trip did your daughter and son-in-law not understand? Oh, boo freaking who, they wanted to spend time alone and designated the grandparents to babysit, on what should have been their special trip. If your daughter and son-in-law wanted alone time on a trip, they could have gone on a different trip, and politely asked you and your wife to watch the kids while they were away. Not try and hijack your trip. Do not feel guilty, OP. Not even for a second. You and your wife have done the parenting of your kids, and now it's time to start enjoying life as a couple again. Sure, you're parents and grandparents, but you're still a couple, and deserve to enjoy falling in love with each other all over again, with romantic trips that do not include your offspring or grandkids. Your daughter needs a swift kick of reality right in the tuchus. She had the audacity to invite her family to your romantic weekend, with the express purpose of securing babysitters, so she could enjoy herself without any thought for her parents. The entitlement is mind-boggling. Not the idiot, essentially paid for her holiday. If you then go elsewhere, then that's up to you. You have no obligation to tell her or check with her first. She has no right to expect you to be her babysitter on your 40-year wedding anniversary trip. Jane needs to check her entitlement. Funny how she wanted time with her husband without the kids, but didn't think you and your wife would want that on such a special occasion. Things she doesn't understand or take into account either is I am sure that over those 40 years and with 3 children, you and your wife will have already made compromises and put your kids before you. You sound like the kind of amazing parents that would. It's now time for her to give back and make sure you and your wife get to enjoy some of those things you have missed out on. So, not the idiot, and I'm glad you and your wife enjoyed yourselves. Happy anniversary. Sorry, but I have to go with everyone sucks here. I mean, clearly Jane was the a-hole, inviting herself, her husband and her 2 kids along on what was supposed to be a milestone anniversary vacation. And this part makes me absolutely effing cringe. She seemed of the idea that we were going to look after our grandkids, so she and her husband could have alone time, and now that I abandoned her, they would have to do it all themselves. I hung up on them when my son-in-law started shouting. You raised an entitled brat, though sometimes how kids turn out has little to do with their parents. But on the other hand. So, without consulting anyone, I switched our tickets last minute to go to the romantic destination that my wife and I had originally planned for. I didn't not tell Jane or her husband. I didn't even tell my wife until the day before our flight left. It wasn't an easy decision and I feel guilty about it. That guilt? Yeah, that's you knowing the answer to your question, am I the a-hole? Now, let's be clear, sometimes we have to be the a-hole. Sometimes we have to take action without telling anyone or without being above board. Sometimes we have to spring a surprise on someone who is completely unsuspecting. But that doesn't mean we're not a-holes for doing it. Rather than put your foot down and set boundaries, you kinda took the chicken shit way out of not telling anyone, until it was too late for anyone to do anything about it. And honestly, I'm cheering you on for doing it. But it is an a-hole move. And what do you guys think about all this? What would you do if you had a daughter like Opie's? Would you have gone on the trip with her and her family? Or would you do the same as Opie? Please don't forget to leave your comment down below. Oh, and don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications to know when a new video is out. Now let's go to the next story. Am I the idiot for causing family drama over a swimming pool? So, I know from experience that Reddit isn't the most understanding towards parents of young kids, but I really just want a third-party opinion, because this situation is driving me crazy, and my family are saying I need to get over it. Hi, female 30s, live with my partner and our 2 kids, ages 7 and 3. My older sister, Ava, also female 30s, and her husband recently purchased a house in the local area. It's a super nice place with a big yard, and as you can probably guess from the title, a swimming pool. Ava recently hosted a barbecue at her place. It wasn't a huge event. She invited me, our parents, and our other siblings. She mentioned letting the kids play in the pool, so I only assumed my kids would get to be included. We are potty training, although my youngest is still in diapers at the moment. At the barbecue, I was getting my youngest ready for the pool by changing him into a swim diaper. Ava pulled me aside and told me she doesn't think it's hygienic for my youngest to play in the pool, since swim diapers don't hold pee, and she asked that he doesn't swim in the pool with the other kids playing in it. I didn't think this was fair and told Ava that lots of people, adults and kids, pee in the pool and it would be no different at a public pool. So what's the problem? She was being really condescending and wouldn't listen to me at all, and said that he can play in the pool when he's toilet trained, and said it's not fair on the other kids. At this point my son was crying, because he wanted to swim in the pool, and I told Ava she was being cold, but it's her house and her pool, so do what you want. Ava accused me of trying to guilt trip her, and told me to just drop it. I was getting upset myself at this point, and I told our parents and other siblings about what Ava did. They told me it's not a big deal, and that it's not worth arguing with her over, and try not to let it bother me. I wasn't happy with this, because this essentially means they're siding with her and downplaying how she treated me and my son. I left the barbecue early with my family, because we didn't feel welcome after that. The next day, Ava messaged me a whole paragraph, and said that she's sorry that I'm upset, and that she wasn't trying to exclude my son for the sake of it. It was a super non-apology, and I told her I don't want to hear it, and that she's damaged her relationship with her nephew, and she's not the one who had to deal with him being upset. Ava snapped at me out of nowhere, and said I'm being dramatic. I told her to grow up and said that I have a very valid reason to be mad, and she needs to stop acting like a teenager. Ava showed these messages to everyone, and everything is just a bit up in the air. I feel like I'm right here, but the rest of my family doesn't seem to agree. Well, her house, her rules. And she didn't kick you out of her house, she just doesn't want your son to pee in her pool. It's not that difficult to understand, and agree to it. I get that she could have already told you beforehand that she didn't want your son to go into the pool, because he is not potty trained. and you could have found another solution or even decided whether or not to go to the barbecue. I don't know how your family dynamic is like or if you are having some kind of problem with someone else. But you took this situation to another level. It went from, please let's be hygienic and not urinate in the pool, to, you are rejecting my son, disrespecting me and excluding my family from your home. Which wasn't the case. You're the idiot here, OP. Even more so, after the reply you gave to your sister's apology. Especially when she shouldn't have apologized in the first place. And instead of you just accepting it, and then carrying on with your lives. You were rude and acted like you did nothing wrong, which again, was not the case. You are the idiot here, OP. How the F are people voting not the idiot here? You are the idiot, 100%. First and foremost, it's not your pool. It's Ava's. And it's totally reasonable for her to not want your kid's piss in it. She could have told her this before the kid was already getting changed and avoided two adults and a child having a meltdown over it. You are the idiot. Not sure why peeing in the pool is considered okay by a lot of people, but it's effing disgusting and your sister has a right to say no. Everyone sucks here. She really should have let you know beforehand that only potty-trained kids were allowed in the pool. Of course your kids were going to want to swim, and of course you didn't think it would be an issue. She should have given you a heads up, so you could have prepared. Even not knowing this in advance, it's still her pool and you shouldn't have escalated it the way you did. You are the idiot. Have you ever seen a kid have an accident in a swim diaper? I have. Nasty brown shit water is surrounding the child. The pool then needs to be drained and sanitized. And then saying she's damaged her relationship with her nephew, please he won't remember. You need to get your entitlement in check. You are the idiot. You act like it's normal to pee in pools. Your sister put a very, very sensible boundary. You're acting entitled. And what do you guys think of this story? What would you do if you were OP? Don't forget to leave your comment down below. So, that's it for today guys. I hope you enjoyed. See you next time.